All right, the big merger, I don't think they can put it on their credit card. I think it's gonna take some cash. What, 35 billion? Wow. Hey, good morning. Good morning, New Hampshire. Good morning up into Maine. Jack, Heath, J-Dog on the boards as we get going on this Tuesday morning. Hope you had a good President's Day, if all the presidents can remember. That was yesterday, another little pun intended. Hey, we have some sunshine out there, nice sunny skies, 35 for a high, so a pretty good looking day as we get going. Going to get a live report in a few moments from Paul Steinhauser. Guess where he is? Guess where he is? Perch. He's hanging out. He is on duty for Fox nationally. For us, of course, locally. GM, of course. Good morning, New Hampshire. The Pulse of an H in our Sig Sauer studios. Paul's in South Carolina ahead of the big Republican primary coming up there. Let's start with Paul on this Tuesday morning. Good morning, Steiny. Paul, any sense if this changes much? Here we are Tuesday, days away. It feels a little bit like going into New Hampshire where these polls were showing Trump with a big lead. And Nikki Haley said she wants to do better than she did in New Hampshire. That means she'd have to come up a little bit here. Does it feel like Trump gets something more than 20 points? Does that feel like it's holding, or is there anything that could change that? And no surprise, like, tomorrow or Thursday, like a Ron DeSantis, couple days before New Hampshire pulling out. No surprise on Haley's end? All right. Thank you, Paul. Paul Steinhauser, live from South Carolina to kick off Good Morning New Hampshire on the Pulse of an Age. Thank you, Paul. All right, coming up, speaking of former President Donald Trump, Republican frontrunner, we're going to hear from Aaron Riel. That big ruling wasn't a surprise, but the near $400 million finding against Trump and his businesses in New York. What's the immediate business impact on the Trump side of things, business wise? Aaron Riel, NBC News Radio national correspondent, will weigh in. We'll hear more on that proposed massive credit card deal, if you will, Capital One and Discover. Doug Tenyon will weigh in on that. Alicia Preston Xanthopoulos, Seacoast Online, is going to touch base, and we have a lot more coming up on this Tuesday morning as we get going. A couple of the other stories where J Dog, I always get a little bit confused. Don't say I'm not the current president, but I don't want to be either. But I get a little bit confused. School vacation week, you have Maine, Mass, and then the New Hampshire. What is New Hampshire next week? So are we into the Mass Maine week this week? So, but I bet you the ski areas in the North Country probably feeling the benefits of that. A lot of places up there packed, I'm sure. Beautiful, beautiful skiing and riding weather right now with the sun and the snow and the colder temps. So I'm sure things are busy, and that's good. As I say, white gold up in the North Country. I saw one of the stories this morning. Joe Biden in his presidential campaign. He's campaigning in California today, raising more than $42 million in January, and I think that the campaign has like $130 million on hand. So don't you love it? Lackluster. People are divided. People are what fried, fatigued, and the whole Biden Trump thing, and the money's pouring in for Joe Biden. I wonder where that's coming from. I wonder where that's coming from. Also today, UN Security Council, they're going to be having that sort of symbolic vote for a ceasefire in Gaza, mostly Arabic nations putting that forward. The U.S. will poise to veto that, and we'll have the latest on some of that as well. And a little bit later on, Rory O'Neill will be touching base on some of these stories as well. Amazingly, another critic of Vladimir Putin. Isn't this amazing how this happens? If you oppose Putin in Mother Moscow, if you will, or over there, you just wind up dead. I mean, you just wind up dead, whether you're in prison or not. So we'll have more on that from Rory as well. One of the stories I just want to touch upon this morning, and you may see this if you're out and about, but later on this morning, and this is, it just hits it hits home. And if you see the motorcade, it will definitely hit home. Show of respect for 26-year-old Captain Jack Casey of Dover native. He was one of the 5 Marines killed earlier this month in that CH-53E Super Stallion helicopter that crashed during the stormy weather in the mountains outside of San Diego. Casey's going to be laid to rest in Dover. There'll be a brief non-public ceremony over at Pease International Trade Port, and then a motorcade up into Dover. So if you see a motorcade later on this morning, it is the body of Captain Jack Casey, Marine, coming home to be laid to rest. He was a pilot on the helicopter. He was a Dover native. He also, interestingly enough, tells you what kind of person he was a Hampton Beach lifeguard. I went to school in Dover, and there's going to be the school's going to be hosting where he went to school in Dover a visitation services for Casey this coming Friday afternoon before a funeral service Saturday in Rye, and his remains are going to be brought to Pease this morning. As I said, the motorcade and the procession will bring his body home later on today, so you might see that. And we can, the track of that, by the way, someone asked just because it is an amazing thing to see. From Pease, I think they're going to go onto the Spalding Route 16 from Newington to Dover, and then Dover Point Road south to the high school where he went to school, the Dover Point Road, Central Avenue, the area that later on this morning. All right, coming up, we're going to be hearing from some of our other regulars on this Tuesday morning. Feels like it's a start to the week, but President's Day sort of getting in the way yesterday. So nice weather out there, looking at some sunshine. 35 for a high. We have a lot of visitors in the state and region this week because of Maine, Massachusetts vacation weeks, New Hampshire next week. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the pulse of an age. Thousands of you are listening each morning. We appreciate that very much. Also, good morning up into Portland, Maine. WTSN 1270 AM, 98.1 FM. Dover, Rochester, Portsmouth, Hampton, WTPL 1077 FM, WEMJ, AM and FM, Lakes Region, WASR. And again, hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the pulse of an age. Jack, Heath on J-Dog on the boards. Back in a moment. We also, good morning, welcome back, Jack, Heath, the illustrious one, J Dog on the boards. Hope you're having a good start to your Tuesday. We just talking about Franklin Pierce there in that story and President's Day yesterday, and hope you had a good day. We might hear from Michael Graham, New Hampshire Journal. PC has Northwood School Board's um, member facing a hearing over obscene, quote unquote, obscene racist rants. This is in Northwood, New Hampshire, and this was posted by Northwood School Board member, and I'll read it to you. It's a truth. He has like it's like I don't know what it is. It's I guess a poster. The truth about liberal virtual signaling. Hate has no home here, and it's got like different flags and different stuff. And hate has no home here. The truth about liberal virtual signaling. Hate has no home here. And then at the bottom he says, unless it's hate for Trump, his supporters, white men, Christians, and conservatives. So he's on the hot seat for that. We'll hear from Graham in a little bit. Speaking of the hot seat, wow. Haven't really talked much as we got into the weekend here with yesterday and President's Day, but there's that ruling by the judge in the civil case of Trump's business dealings in New York City. Wow. A little more than the 250. It was $355 million in punitive damages in his civil fraud case following the judge's ruling. You could see that one coming. No love lost between that judge and the former president, Donald Trump, but $355 million bucks. But, again, I know for some people it's absolutely impossible to put their disdain or their dislike, or putting it mildly, against Donald Trump. Put that aside for a moment. You don't hear this because you just see the headlines. You know, the point, the thing that people are missing in this case against Trump in New York City. I'm not talking about the other cases. I'm talking about just the civil fraud trial of New York City. Do you realize there were no criminal charges in this case? There was no criminality. There was no criminality at all in this case. This was the attorney general and this particular court after Trump because he's Donald Trump. So they go after him on his business stuff and make his kids testify. And the whole allegation is that they inflated the values of their private businesses. But here's another key point that no one will make in this story. Again, why I think a lot of people are tuning out national news media on the TV side. These were private businesses, not publicly traded. Let me repeat that. These are private businesses that the Trump business, companies ran in New York City for a long time. Hotels, real estate, private, not publicly traded. So, when you look at what the allegations were against Trump, as I've said, if you are a listener in this audience right now, or region or nationally, and you're listening to me on the show here, and thank you for listening, and you have a private business that you own, an independent business that you own, it's private, not publicly traded, you're not a senior executive in a publicly traded corporation, which has certain rules about sales reporting and shareholder stuff. If you're a private business owner, many of you are, you have every right to say your business is worth X, even if it's worth Y. If you own properties, real estate, and things are still crazy on real estate prices, you have every right to think your home might be worth $1 million or $1.5 million, even if it's worth half that. Now, if you go to a bank to borrow money, the banks have to do their due diligence, regardless of what you think your business or your home is worth. It's up to them to do their due diligence on the value of what your home or your business really is. And if you deal with like a home equity line, you know that. You can tell your bank that, hey, I want to borrow $100,000. I think my home right now is worth 1.5 million. They're not going to take your word for it. They're going to do their own diligence. And if they don't, shame on them. If you have a business broker and you think your business is worth $10 million and your sales are only $2.5–3 million, and someone tells you it's not even worth $5, well, again, the fool's on the person who may spend too much for your business or your home, but you have every right as a private business owner to think your business is worth more than it is or less than it is. But they went after Trump to hurt him, financially speaking. And this may hurt him. We're going to hear from Aaron Real, NBC News Radio national correspondent, on the immediate impact on his businesses. Will the Trump, the Trump business empire starts selling off some of these hotels and buildings and real estate holdings and resorts. We'll see. But this was, even if the other ones weren't, this was a what you call a political witch hunt. And I'm just pointing that out. Now, while the Justice Department at times seems like they've been after Trump, and this was New York State and City, man, this was New York Attorney General and this judge. By the way, do your own reading about this judge if you don't think this thing was already in the bag before the trial. Just read about him. I think he even spent some time at Columbia University, so I kind of tell you his political persuasion. But anyway, the point is big money. They're after Trump. Let's talk about Joe Biden for a minute. Joe Biden has a totally different, do you notice this? He has a totally different set of standards. Don't pick on his son, Hunter. Don't worry about all those business dealings with Hunter Biden. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Move on. Nothing to see here. Doesn't matter what family members. Don't worry about Hunter Biden's not paying his federal taxes or is dealing with all these countries when dad was vice president. Influence stuff. Don't worry about who gave him money because he said that, he could set up meetings. Don't worry about that. Just nothing to see here. Joe Biden is a nice elderly man. Wasn't that what the special counsel said on the secret document probe? So, but look at the money now behind Biden. And this is a time when some people question if he even some days has the mental capacity to do the job of being president of the United States, let alone running again. Look at the money that the Biden campaign, I mean, give him credit, raised more than $42 million in January. I think the campaign has like 130 million on hand. So a lot of people, even though the polls show that 80% of all the people polled, including Democrats, young Democrats, don't want Joe Biden to run again. They don't want Biden. Someone with a lot of money wants him. I mean, who's writing checks? I don't think he's lighting it up on the speaking circuit. Do you? Now he's in California campaigning today. And, people overlook the misspeaks, the gaffes, the verbal gaffes, the kind of deer in the headlights on the stage, but someone's pouring money into the Biden campaign. This money's coming from somewhere. I don't think it's from average voters. Where's all this money coming from? Trump's raising a lot of money, and arguably that his PAC, I'm sure a lot of it's going to legal fees for all his legal cases. I'm sure there's probably $50-70 million that they're paying out the lawyers for these legal fees. But what a mess. What a complete and utter mess. You have a situation where Joe Biden, no energy there, no excitement about the ticket, but there's something going on, right? I mean, I've said on the show over and over again that Washington is fueled by a couple things beyond the Potomac. Money and power. Money and power run Washington. Big money, power, money. That's what runs Washington. And don't you love it? Even in New Hampshire or Maine, you'll see someone like, run for U.S. Senate or Congress or run for re-election. And they'll say, we need to get this dark money out of politics. We need to get this, this sort of invisible corporate, you can give money to a PAC. We need to get this dark money out of politics. And then someone runs again for re-election of the U.S. Senate, and they raise $50-60 million in so-called dark money, this big corporate money, the big spending. No one knows where it's coming from. We need to remove it from politics, but not when I'm running. We need to remove this kind of big money from politics, but not when I'm running. We need to take the dark money out of politics, but not in my race. Wait till I get reelected. So the money's flowing. It's an amazing system, isn't it? And more than 76 or almost 80% of everyone polled doesn't want it to be Biden and Trump. I saw Joe Manchin from West Virginia. He's not going to be running as a independent or third party candidate. He's not doing it. I don't know if Chris Christie will under no labels. He's got not much, he's a nice person. I like him. The former governor of New Jersey was on my show a lot. Very affable, very nice. He doesn't have much else going on, so why not? I think he still has his law firm, but he could run under the no labels thing. But Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is out there and some others. But right now, it appears like when you look at South Carolina this week, and the latest polls have Trump leading Nikki Haley by 28 points in one poll. And this is Saturday, the primary. Today's Tuesday. This is Saturday, the 24th. Saturday. One poll has Trump by 28. Another poll this morning, you heard Paul live in South Carolina joining us out of the gate. Good morning, New Hampshire, the Pulse of 23 points. So big number. kind of feels like it was going into New Hampshire. Trump didn't win by that much. He didn't win by those numbers in New Hampshire. The polls were showing 18 to 20. He ended up winning by about as I predicted, about 11, 12% over Nikki Haley. She was about 43. He was about what, 54. I think in this one it feels like he's going to be at least 60 in South Carolina. We'll see where it goes. Hey Google, hey Alexa, play the Pulse of an H. We come back. Michael Graham will tell you about a little flap in Northwood next on Good Morning New Hampshire, the Pulse of an H. All right, welcome back. Just talking to a new member of the business sales side of things, Brian Narrow. He and I go back, and a good guy and good person. I don't know if I can say good guy, although the states inclusive website went away, so I guess I can say hey guy, hey gal, how are you? And I mean all due respect. But speaking of that, Michael Graham, NH Journal, NewHampshireJournal.com. We might get one final thought from him this week as well on his native South Carolina ahead of the big primary there coming up in a few days. We're talking about another story that I just was talking about. He sent me a note on, or I saw in New Hampshire Journal, nhjournal.com. Great resource in the morning. A lot of good stuff happening. Michael Graham, Tuesday morning. Good morning. This one's out in Northwood, right? Northwood School Board. Yep. What? 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 Well, I have a question for you. These are important posts, but who in this environment, who would want to run for these posts? Right, right, right. Hmm. Right. Yes, and of course, the UN Security Council poised to have this symbolic vote today on a ceasefire in Gaza. They're basically Biden's have taken a lot of heat from his own party and younger voters who think there should be a ceasefire earlier than this, and they're upset with him for standing so loyally with Israel. So now he's being a politician and he's kind of bending a little bit. And she's been steadfast on supporting Ukraine and Israel, right? We'll see. I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of criticism from our delegation on anything the Biden administration has done. Yep, yep. Mhm. Good, thank goodness. Why are you asking me? I'm not part of your survey. I'd I'd probably go I would have gone back a lot longer. Probably Captain John Langdon way back. He's one of our founding fathers out of Portsmouth. He was an amazing individual. Back in a time when they did these amazing things, whether it was signed, actually William Whipple signed the Declaration of Independence. I think Langdon signed the Constitution, but these early founding fathers of our state, I think it was governor as well. Langdon would have been a great president, but mhm, yeah, yeah. Yep, yep. No, of course. No, it is. And back then, it's amazing what these people would do. They'd go from being a teacher or a lawyer to serving in Congress to, becoming U.S. senator, becoming governor. All these bases that they would hit. All right, Michael. Real quickly, one poll has, and you're from South Carolina originally. One poll has Trump at 28. The other one has him at 23 this morning. We had Paul Steinhauser live this morning. Nikki Haley going into this weekend. Do these numbers hold roughly? All right, I appreciate it. Michael Graham, New Hampshire Journal, always gets you going a little bit. Yeah, I mean, if you, someone was just asking me a little more about John Langdon in Portsmouth. They actually have one of the homes right down on Pleasant Street. You'll see the John Langdon house, big white home, sign out front, nice fence. But he was governor of New Hampshire, and he 143 Pleasant Street. If you want to check it out. But if you look at this these coming some of these people who helped form our state and country, literally, he was um, he was really one of the founding fathers of what we know to be Portsmouth or at least New Hampshire, and New Hampshire had a key role in helping to found this great country, the United States of America. But he's one of these, my opinion, one of these selfless people. He was a merchant, a shipbuilder. He was a general during the Revolutionary War. He signed the Constitution, as I said earlier. Um, he was used to be called. I don't know if you knew this way back when he was governor of New Hampshire. He served 3 terms. They called you president of New Hampshire. I don't know if you knew that. That's a good trivia note. But he was governor. An amazing person. He received praise from George Washington, who visited Portsmouth. Washington's secretary Tobias Lear had a home on Hunking Street in Portsmouth. Hunking, Hunking, and if you know that area, Geno's Chowder and Sandwich Shop, or Sandwich and Chowder Shop right down near there. The Tobias Lear and George Washington would come visit. The home he built is you could still go see it. It's one of these beautiful white, I guess I'd call it a Georgian type house. Big, big home right there, right downtown Portsmouth. You can walk. I think it's now a museum. He passed away, I think, in 1819. He had one daughter who survived, continued to use the home. So he passed away in 1819. So, pretty amazing story. Pretty amazing story. John Langdon, one of the early folks who really were the backbones of what we know to be still New Hampshire and still the America. If that doesn't offend people, I know that in some of these inclusive language guides with all these sensitivities and bubble wrap that we need to be, you know, taken care with, kind of like I don't know, an allergy medication, bubble wrap. Some people don't want you to say America, because it's a little hard for people who aren't from America, kinda might hurt their feelings, and when you say America, even though we're in America, I mean, again, this is the crazy stuff that imagine John Langdon back then saying, "Hey, do you ever think that we'd have a country one day where people were in college campuses and states, they don't want you to use the term American or America because it might offend some folks who are foreign folks here. Do you ever imagine what Langdon would say? Probably go pound sand or something worse. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an Age. Pretty big credit card deal. I guess it's Capital One and Discover. Doug Tengden, one of our economic thinkers. A little bit later on, we're going to hear from Joe Guyton again, the Guyton Forge Group, on further redefining a retirement. Top of the 10 o'clock, Alicia Preston Anthopoulos, Seacoast Online. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an Age. Back in a moment. Beautiful weather if you're in the North Country today on Mass or Maine school vacation week, New Hampshire next week, but we got some sunshine out there, mid 30s for a high, and that's the kind of stuff that if you're riding or skiing, riding, boarding, whatever. Of course, they want more snow right now, but beautiful weather for it, so enjoy. Good for our local economy in the North Country. Hey, I didn't mention it earlier, but with President's Day yesterday, I got kind of a bonus game. I ended up watching most of that Bruins Dallas Stars game. What a hockey game. And of course, we had it for you on the Pulse. Brad Marchand, his 1000th game as a Bruin. It was pretty cool with his family there and a lot of the Bruins recognizing him and competitors. But what a game. It was, I think, I don't know how long, how many shootout rounds, but Yeah, well, no, it was more than that, J-Dog, get up to 9 or 10. Yeah, they went almost they just kept going. Swayman kept stopping them, and, of course, eventually, Bruins pulled it off, and a great save by Swayman near the end. Charlie McAvoy got the goal that gave him a chance to make the save, and the Bruins finally get well, the finally, they needed it's been 4, but they big fun game, exciting game yesterday. And Marchand in overtime got one of them, so pretty cool. Gonna, switch gears, I guess, I don't know if they're gonna put this deal on their credit card. Capital One and Discover credit card, what is it, $35 billion deal? One of the stories on the economic front. Doug Tengden, Worldwide Market Perspective on this Tuesday. Doug, good morning. It was nice, mellow, it was nice. You? There you go. Mhm. That's a blessing, that's a blessing. So, tell me this, are they putting this, where is it? I'm just was reading notes earlier this morning, this nice fun deal here, was it Discover? And yeah, are they gonna put it on their can they float that on their credit? Can they float that on their credit? If if well, if Discover's on the weaker side, why is the deal worth that much? Yep. Yeah. Now I know the interest rates aren't gonna come down real fast anytime soon. Maybe by if I had to guess, Federal Reserve, I'm guessing kinda maybe June before they kinda in my opinion, I may be wrong. I don't think they do it earlier, 0.25% cut, but it will be a cut versus a holding steady or increase. But I'm still hearing almost weekly the number of young potential or current homeowners who are getting increasingly frustrated, who want to sell or buy something new, but they're kind of locked in and they literally everything they're looking at, and I'm talking people, under 40 years old, is about $250,000 over what any rational person would think the home should be worth. Whatever they're looking in New Hampshire, it just seems that they're kind of stuck and they can't get into that next footing or step into the home ownership game because everything and I was talking to someone this morning. I mean, Doug, you're happy in the Upper Valley. You went to college up there. You're up near Hanover. But if you hypothetically just Googled homes in Rye, went onto Zillow, Realtor.com, just looked at Rye, New Hampshire, you want say hypothetically you and you want to move there. You're not gonna get a home in Rye unless you gotta put 200, 300,000 into it, under $1,000,000. That's the starting point. In fact, everything's more like 1.5, and if you're a couple living in Epping or, I'm Brentwood, and you wanna take that step and move to Rye, New Hampshire, be closer to the water, and you might get, let's just say 650, 700 for your house, you can't make that move. And there was a lot of couples I know that are increasingly frustrated that they would move right. They would look to move this spring, but they feel like it's out of their reach. All right. Good stuff, Doug Tengden. I appreciate it. And of course, worldwide market perspective. Thank you. And again, you heard Mike Pomp earlier on our Pulse of an Age News Talk network of stations, and of course, the Morning Information Center. And I mentioned at the top of this show, but the body of Captain Jack Casey of Dover, Dover native. He was a pilot in the United States Marine Corps, just 26 years old. He was one of the five who lost their lives in that helicopter crash just in the mountains outside of San Diego. And it was what they call the Super Stallion helicopter CH-53E. He was a captain in the United States Marines. Jack Casey. He was also a Hampton Beach lifeguard when he was younger. His body's coming home today, and you'll see a motorcade if you're out and about, over, especially more in the Dover, sort of from Pease International Trade Port, where his body's coming in up into Dover, so up 16. You'll see into Dover, very respectful motorcade. Amazing stuff. And again, the service at Pease this morning is not open. It's not open to members of the public, but the procession is expected to begin around noon today. And you'll see this probably a little before noon. You'll be able to see the actual motorcade. State police will be involved. It really is quite a scene to see this when one of our service members comes home. Really, sad, but a fitting scene of respect. And again, he was just 26, Captain Jack Casey at Dover. Very well thought of. Thoughts and prayers to his family. Thank you for your service, sir. All right, as we get going on this Tuesday morning, coming up, Alicia Preston's Anthopoulos, Seacoast Online, regular contributor, will kick off the 10 with some observations. Next big matchup, if you will, since there's nothing on the Democrat side happening, they're anointing Joe Biden. Jumping Joe, he's full of energy and excitement. His candidacy campaigning in California today took in $42 million, more than $42 million last month. He's got so much vibrancy out there running again. Maybe some puns intended. But the next big contest, South Carolina, coming up in just a few days. And the latest poll numbers show Donald Trump with a 28-point lead, 23-point lead, but certainly more than 20 points. Nikki Haley kind of fighting to hang in there. We'll have more on that. Coming up, hour number 2. Nice day out there on this Tuesday. Jack Heath, J-Dog on the boards. Good morning, New Hampshire and beyond, Maine, the country, the pulse of an H. Back in a moment.